So greetings. Today's session I found a suitable title, which is Healthy and Whole, Utkatasana, Chair Pose. So you'll see that influence of chair pose coming through a few of the poses that we do today. And the purpose of it is, I don't know if people know this, but it's a pose that can help strengthen your buttock muscles and then support your lower back. So it's a really good pose, not always a favorite pose because it's hard work. And today's session we're going to start standing with an emphasis on breathing. So I ask you to come up now. All right, so here's a really simple breathing exercise. If you're in your standing position now, bring your hands around as though you're kind of hugging yourself with your hands just into your armpits. And then that's going to be your clue for bringing the breath into that area, which is basically the sides of your lungs or the sides of your chest. So we'll play with that for a few rounds of breathing. With a deep inhalation, feel the side ribs expand. And then exhale, there's just a release there. Ujjayi breathing is good for this, that breath that we use in yoga that's audible. It's a felt breath at the back of your throat. So let's go for, say, 5 rounds like this, as deep as you can manage without stressing. Inhale. And exhale. Go at your own pace, because I know we all have different breathing rhythms, deeper and shallower and so forth. There's a temptation to elevate your shoulders, so as much as you can, keep the shoulders relaxed, your face relaxed. Soften at the backs of your knees. See if you can bring yourself into that felt experience, rather than thinking about what you're doing. Just sensing and feeling it. Okay, good. And then I'll refer to that kind of breath a few times through the session today. But let's do another breathing exercise, a little different one. So bring your hands over your abdomen. So you have one hand above the navel, one hand below the navel. And this time we're going to make an audible sound, the sound of shh. So try that on your exhalations. Deep breath in. And let's go several rounds. Soften behind your knees. Take that breath right down through the lower abdominal area as well. And then let your arms drop and relax. Relax behind your knees, relax your neck and your chest. These movements help you warm up in your practice and encourage the breathing when the weather's been cold, as it has recently. So let's do another sounded breath. And bring your hands back where they were. And then make a sound of a snake hiss. So inhaling fully. Notice if the end of the exhalation you're tensing up, let go all stress and tension, especially in your shoulders. Let's do 2 more rounds. Notice where you feel this through the whole of the abdominal area. Is it upper part, middle, lower part? Just one more. See if you can keep the flow of the breath even from the beginning of the exhalation to the end. And then when you release your arms by your side again, just check your posture, nice upright, comfortable yoga posture. And in this sequence of breathing on the exhalations, try this last one, which is kind of interesting. And see where you feel it in that abdominal area. So deep breath in, and it's a grrr sound. Grrr. So with that kind of rumbling sound, I feel it more in my vocal folds and in my diaphragm than any place else. But it's whatever your experience is. Let's just do a couple more. And just the last one. That's good. And then just let go of the controlled breathing that you've been doing. And let's work with warming up the upper part of the body with a few arm exercises. So simple movement, step your feet apart, hip width distance. Feel your footprint. A little softer behind your knees, your buttock muscles relaxed but toned. And then interlock your hands. Bring your hands in front of you. Turn your hands inside out. Keep the roots of the fingers in contact as much as you can. And then stretch out at chest level. And go on round the back a bit. You might now take some breaths that are felt in the back ribs, the shoulder blades. And then take the arms up. And I noticed that as soon as I did that, my ribs popped forward. So soften the ribs so that they rest down into the abdomen again, those front floating ribs. And then in the last part, you'll get the wrist stretching too as you straighten your elbows. Lower your hands to chest height. Change the way you interlocked. And then press your hands forward again. Good, we're not in a hurry here. Rounding the back. Just going through that range of movement that's possible with the spine. And bring the arms up. And stretching from armpits to fingertips. Watch those bottom ribs so they haven't flared forward. They're still relaxed into the body. And then lowering the hands. And good time to shake out your fingers, your wrists, your hands. Good. We'll need a few props, so give yourself a moment to collect a block and a belt and a yoga blanket of some kind. And then let's take up the belt. Okay, so the belt is loose on both ends. And then hold it so your arms are out at chest height and you're working to pull the tension on the belt. As you pull that belt taut, just notice which muscles are engaged for you to be able to do that. Upper arms, biceps, triceps, right into the deltoid muscles of the upper part of the arm. Okay, and then bring the arms up overhead without jutting your chin forward. So keep your ears neatly in line with your arms and stretch and pull at the same time. Feel your muscular power in your arms. Good. And then lower the arms to chest height again. Let's open the belt out a little bit more so your arms are in a V shape, and then pull that tension strong again. I'm getting a little clicking in my elbow joint. Whatever you notice is valid for you. And then up we go again. Good. I'm going to open the belt just a little bit more and see if that's a good movement for you. Never move towards a pain reflex. So you don't want any sharp pain here. And you always back off a little bit if that happens. And then as you're pulling that tension strongly, what's it like if you bring your arms back a little bit behind the head? And then forward again. So this can be a pulsing movement, back and forward, engaging the upper back muscles now, forward and back. But your head and your neck don't move. It's just an arm and shoulder movement. Good. And then we're all done with the belt, so lower the arms and leave it to the side for the time being. We'll get to it much later in the class. Okay, and then from here, let's take one more movement for your upper body. Bring your right arm out in front of you and crook the elbow so it's right in front of your sternum. And then bring the opposite arm underneath that arm and fold at the elbows. And at the moment I've got my forearms separate, my hands separate, but bring your hands nearer and nearer to each other, the backs of the hands. Good. And then if you can, you could take the next stage of the pose to join the hands so the palms are touching. And then I can lift my elbows up a little bit, and it feels like I'm elevating my shoulder blades, which I am. And then feel what happens when you bring your elbows towards your navel. And then let's add one more movement. Take a bow forward. And in your very slight forward bend here, not really a bend as a stretch outwards, see if you can bring your chin in so your chin's towards your juggler's notch. Round your back as much as you can. That's what this pose is designed for. Inhale and come up. And let your arms be loose. Swing free. And then left arm up in front of you. Crook your elbow. Bring your opposite arm underneath. Good. You can start with just the backs of the hands together. See what works for you. And then the hands pass each other, and you can join palms if that next movement's available. And then elbows come up. And elbows come down. And you come into a slight forward bend. And then lengthen out the spine. Beautiful length right through the back of your neck. Duck your chin in so that you get a stretch in that rounded neck as well. Good. Inhale and come up and let it all go. Just nonchalant, swing your arms, shake them out, and that's beautiful. let's take a lying down position. I've got one more breathing exercise which I really like because it incorporates bridge pose. So take a lying down position on your back. And bend your legs, have your feet close to your buttocks, step them apart, hip width distance, and then snuggle the sacrum into the mat, your shoulder blades, your arms loose by your side. All right, this incorporates ultimately the bridge pose, but we'll start out without even lifting our hips. So, inhale, take a full inhale, and take that breath all the way up to the top chest and out towards the armpits. Take an exhalation and draw the navel back towards the spine. And let's go a few rounds like that, where it gives time to notice some interesting things about this simple movement. So the inhalation is full to the upper part of the lungs. The exhalation is strong into the abdominal organs. And that because this is a pose that's sometimes used for back extension, just notice what's happening through your spinal column. And right down to the lumbar spine and the sacrum. And let your breath in and out be the movement that rocks your spine. It's a little rocking through the base of your spine as you breathe in and out. On your next exhalation, anchor your feet, press on the inside of your feet, and then on the inhalation you're coming up. Just a little at first is plenty. And then on the exhalation, replacing your spine vertebra by vertebra toward the floor. Let's go like that. I like to start out where, when I'm doing the bridge lifts, that I'm working up towards my shoulder blades. And then I'm aware of that mid part of my spinal column. And then towards the end, with a few more of these lifts, working up towards the dorsal thoracic and even towards the upper shoulder blades. And still with that lovely rocking movement through the spinal column. All right, and last one. And when you come up this time, just go for it and lengthen the spine as much as you can, right to the base of your skull. Move your thighs away from the hips, and then come down, replacing each vertebra in order until you're at rest. Good. From here we're going to move on to a kneeling position, and we're going to do the kneeling salutes. So you'll possibly want your blanket. And I'll introduce a way that I found is very comfortable for a kneeling position. And I'm using my blanket and a block. So you got some soft padding for your knees. And then the block can go between your heels and sitting back onto the block with support. Let's pause there for a moment. So you've got a comfortable seat, and you may find that the props get in the way of doing these kneeling salutes, and of course at any point you can remove them. But we'll start with comfort. So from here, sitting in hero pose, Virasana, let's be up kneeling. Inhale, raise those arms, give them a good stretch, they're well warmed up. Back extension. Exhale, forward bend, child's pose with your arms extended. Inhale, rock forward onto all fours. Lead with your breastplate. And then on an exhalation, lift your knees, lift your hips into our familiar, favorite downward facing dog pose. Back to kneeling all fours. Back to child's pose. Back towards that block if you still have that there. Inhale, up, kneeling, reach for the sky. And exhale back to seated. And folding back to seated. Let's go a few more rounds, and with the breath, inhale and exhale. Inhale, cat pose. Exhale, dog pose. In breath, kneeling again, cat pose. Exhale, child's pose. In breath, up we go. Exhale, have a seat. We're going to do 2 more rounds like that. These are really good warming poses, like the arm movements that you did, like the breathing exercises. In breath. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale, straightening the arms. Bring your breastplate forward, look out. Exhale. Look back towards your legs and your heels, and back to cat pose, child's pose. Kneeling up, kneeling down. All right, this will be the last. In breath, forward bend, exhaling all the air out of the chest and the abdomen. Inhale, pull yourself forward. Exhale. You might find you can get your heels down a little bit more now. In breath. Open up the top chest forward. Out breath. Fold back. In breath. And seated. Consolidate. You're seated back in between your heels or onto the block. Rest your hands onto your thighs and let any effort go out of your arms, your chest, your shoulders. Okay, and now we'll move on to chair pose, Utkatasana. So come on up and remove your props to the side. The main message for a chair pose is to keep your weight onto your heels. And so it's a good idea from the start just to feel what the contrast is between the forefoot and the heel. So go on and let your hip width apart, your feet are even on your mat. Let yourself float forward so you're kind of more on your toes. They might even start to clench. And then float all the way back. So you're tipped right back onto the heel bone. And go back and forth like that. And notice what has to switch on. What part of your body, what muscles are the ones that support you when you bring your weight back into your heels. And keep that weight predominantly there right now. Beautiful. And then let's take a slight squat position with your arms up at shoulder height. So knees come forward, arms extending forward at that shoulder height position. And then look at where your knees are bent and bring them back so you can see your toes again, so that you can see the front of your ankles. And stay low anyway. So instead of having to lift up again out of your squat. Keep the buttocks nice and low. I think you got the idea now. And inhale and release the arms, straighten the legs, drop the arms. Good. Let's do a few of those and slightly changing the arm position. Bend your knees, arms come up shoulder height. Now knees are going to track right back towards the hips, and that's going to bring your buttock bones back. Can you feel that in your buttocks? Maybe your outer thighs. And then just raise the arms a little bit so your biceps are alongside your ears. Good. And still reach out. Still lift up. Inhale and come up. Exhale and release your arms. So these poses are really good to strengthen the buttocks, the outer hips, and support the lower back. Let's go again. Inhale. Keep on breathing evenly. See if you can discover that rhythm of your breath that supports what you're doing. Knees back, buttocks back. Good. And then change your arm position. So you're going to bring your arms down and back behind the line of the body. Turn your thumbs back behind you. So that means your palms are facing outwards. And then see if you can lift your thumbs a little bit more. Keep your knees moving back. Pretty good. And then palms face towards your legs. Inhale, arms come up at the same time as you straighten your legs. And exhale, arms by your side. All right. Got two more variations here. And might give your thigh muscles a little bit of encouragement here. Just give them a rub. Your buttock muscles a rub. And continuing. Chair pose. Buttocks back. Reach the buttocks back and down. Your arms are alongside your ears. Now, bring your arms back down alongside your body. Keep bringing them back. And do a little pulsing. So maybe with the exhalations, exhale. Your arms are straight, but you're trying to lift them with that pulsing movement. Feel that all the way into the shoulder joint, the deltoid muscles. Good. You weight still onto your heels, and we're ready to come up. Inhale and exhale. I think we can do one more. I think this is the last chance to work on your Utkatasana. And starting the classic position, buttocks come back as you bend your knees, arms come up. Good. Another good cue for this is just feel where your knees are, and just below them, the head of your shin bone. Move that part of your lower leg back. Good. Bend your elbows. Bring your elbows in alongside your ribs. Palms are facing towards each other. And then do a little pulsing as you extend your elbows back and forward. And feel that in that armpit area again where we were doing the controlled breathing. It looks very odd, but you can really strengthen your outer shoulder blades this way. Okay, and then bringing that to a halt, re-extend your arms forward and up. Inhale and come up, and exhale, arms down. Good. And then give your arms a casual shake out, your wrist, your fingers, maybe even your legs. And let's introduce a couple of standing poses after you've done such excellent leg work. Good. So place yourself center on your mat. Step out. What distance? The distance for triangle pose, Trikonasana. And turn your feet to the right. Good. And in that movement, and turning the right foot out 90 degrees, turn your chest back to center and it squares with the long end of your mat. And then bring your arms up at shoulder height. You might be starting to feel a little bit of a different relationship with your arms, having done the work that you've done. And then extend out to the tips of the fingers, press down through the palms. And then tone your leg muscles. Draw the kneecaps up, the thigh muscles, and bring the right buttock forward. Feel it switch on. Let's lengthen out to the right. Go for it. Right ribs extending right, and then right hand drops just beneath your shoulder, left arm up towards the ceiling. Good. All right, and then just to feel the contrast, tense your shoulders towards your ears, and then roll them back away from your ears so you've got nice long neck, and releasing tension there. Can you straighten the right leg a little bit more? Bring the right buttock in a little bit more to the buttock bone. And inhale and come up. And release the arms, give them a little bit of a rest. Turn your feet to the left. Good. And then we always do this adjustment so the leg turns out but not the chest. Bring your left side forward, left side of your rib cage. Extend the arms out. Good. Feel your whole footprint. Feel the quadriceps, the front of your thigh, toned. And bring the left buttock forward. Good. And then reach out. A little upward direction, and then bringing the left hand down beneath the left shoulder, the right arm just above its mate. Good. Reach your hand up. Open your palm. Feel all your fingers stretching of your right hand. And then check your the strength of your legs, the strength of your buttock. Bring your left buttock forward again. Draw the kneecaps up. Beautiful. Come on up. Turn your feet directly forward. And let's keep going. We're going to repeat the pose just with a slight difference. Turn your feet for Trikonasana to the right side again. And turn your palms up towards the ceiling. Feel when you do that you can not only turn your palms up, but you can roll your shoulders out right up to the armpits. And then with the hands still palms upwards, extend out to the right. Feet strong, thigh muscles strong, buttock in, and then just drop your right hand beneath your shoulders. It's still palm upwards. Keep the left arm up towards the ceiling, and your left palm is facing towards the right side. Good. Lengthen the arms away from each other. Draw the right buttock forward. Inhale and come up. Good. Turn your feet the other way. Good work. Turn your chest back. Good. And then with the palms up variation, extend out. A tremendous stretch to the left side, and then left hand down. Palm upward still, right arm up towards the ceiling. Good. How much can you turn your arm out? So especially the left arm, rolling out from the upper part of your shoulders. Good. Feel your legs strong again. That left buttock strong to the bone. And inhale and come up. And turn your feet forward. And stepping in for a well-deserved rest. Fold your arms so that your thumbs rest in the crease of your elbows. And then first stretch up. And then out. And then down for resting Uttanasana. And what does that mean? Going to let the weight of your arms drop. Just feel the heaviness through your upper arm bones, the elbows. Notice if there's any tension in the back of your neck, and release it so that your head can hang free and lengthen. Good. Drop your arms. Release your head down and bring it up last. Inhale. Come all the way up with your arms by your side. And that felt very good. Warrior One pose. Step right foot forward and left foot back. Okay, so you're facing the short end of the mat now. Right foot forward, left foot back. And then just getting your balance in what is an asymmetrical position. And what will support you is the outer hip muscles. So just bring your hands for a moment onto the outer hips and slightly squeezing the hands in, but squeezing those muscles into center. Beautiful. And then just bring your hands onto your hip bones. Bend your right leg. And you did this in Utkatasana. Draw the right knee back so you can see the front of your ankle again. Good. And as the knee comes back, the whole thigh bone coming back into the right hip. Bring the left hip around. And you're in a really good, stable position. Keep your weight on the inside of your right foot, the outside of your left foot. And then, as you did in earlier arm movements, bring your arms out at chest height. Lengthen your arms forward and feel your back round slightly when you do that. Go the opposite way and draw the arms back into the shoulder joint. Feel them sit nicely into their housing. And then from there, bring your arms up alongside your ears. The arms extend up, but the upper arms, you can still feel them in the shoulder sockets. Beautiful. And then let's release arms down first, straight right leg, step left foot to right, and right foot back. Okay, and then take a moment to get your balance. There's a little space between the upper part of your thighs, and then with your hands onto your hips, adjust your hips so that each of them is squarely forward and in the same plane. So feel your footing, and then from there, watch the knee bend, and hold it back a little bit so that the knee moves towards the thigh moves towards the hips. That's the idea. And then arms straight out in front of you. Lengthen the arms out and feel that difference when your back rounds. There's nothing wrong with that. That's part of our potential of movement. But then let's sit the arms back into the shoulder sockets to continue, and bring the arms up alongside your ears. So it feels like the shoulders, the arms into the shoulders are nice and compact. Notice if your knees bent a little bit more forward. Draw it back once more. And more importantly, notice and sense how that feels in your hips and in your buttocks. Good. And arms come down, and straight left leg, stepping right foot to left. And we're not quite done with this one. Step your left foot back again. And it's time we challenge the balance a little bit in the pose. So starting with your hands onto your hips will help you keep your balance as you lift your back heel and pivot on that foot so all 5 toes are facing forward. Left foot toes facing forward, heel is raised, and then as you bend your right leg again, and as you draw your knee back, straighten the back leg. How are you going to do that? Straighten at the back of the left knee all the way to the heel. Good. And finally, we're going to take the pose into back extension. Bring your arms up alongside your ears. Reach up. And then lean back slightly. in the tiniest of back bends in the upper part of your back. So it'll help to keep the arms into the shoulder joint and feel the shoulder blades coming forward. If it's easy for you, keep your balance. And just got a little bit shaky. And then look up at your thumbs. Good. Arms come down, straight right leg, and step it forward, and change. All right, now we know the pathway, but we've added a variation here. So try it for yourself and lift your back heel. Turn that foot as much as you can so it's facing forward. Good. And then bend your front leg. Good. Now your knee and your thigh will be really loose if you bend your knee over your toes. If you draw your knee back, you'll start to feel the upper thigh and the buttock muscles engage. Hips are square, knee comes back. Good work. And then bring the arms up alongside the ears. Let's work towards the little back bend in your upper part of your back. Feel the arms sitting into their shoulder joints, and then bring the thumbs back just a little bit. Work the back leg, make sure that it's supporting you, and stretch behind the right knee all the way to the heel. Chin up, look up. Sometimes it's difficult to talk and do it at the same time. If you do get shaky, then come back to the pose. Don't give up. And then arms come down, straight front leg. Let's step it in and shake it out. Okay, beautiful work. Beautiful strengthening work for your legs. Legs are strong and buttocks are strong, then you'll have all the support you need for your back. All right, I'm taking up my block for the last of the standing poses, Prasarita Padattanasana, which just means wide leg forward fold. So take your feet nice and wide. Place the block out in front of you at a reach. And leave it there and come back up. Okay, with your hands onto your hips, let's see what it's like to bend your knees in this pose. So it's not going to be like a lunge, but it's an opportunity for you to stretch and open the inner thighs. So a slight knee bend, and then turn the knees back towards the wall behind you. Knees come back, opening the groins. You're in a slight squat position. Not too bad. And then let's just have the right leg bent, and then extend the left leg straight. You're going to shift over to the right side, and then shift over to the left. One leg is going to stay bent, the other one straightening, and back and forth. So where I feel this, not so much as a groin opening, it's more in my ankles. Ankles have to work hard to support you here. All right, and then once more to the left, and then coming all the way up, straight legs. Notice if your feet have started to turn outwards, and turn them in a little bit again. They do slip like that. And then with your hands onto your hips, bend forward from the tops of your thighs, and hold it halfway down. Now, in the past chair poses, Utkatasana, we were moving our buttocks back. Now, you're going to shift the weight to your forefoot and bring your buttocks forward. Bring your buttocks forward. Keep the whole footprint engaged, feel it pressing down, and then bring your hands onto the top of the block. A nice resting position with your arms straight, heels of your hands onto the block, and then lean out a little bit. I always think of this as telescoping the chest out, away from the hips. When you've done that, there's less weight onto the hips, because you're supported by the block and the arms. Lift up at the corners of your upper part of your chest, where the armpit chest is. Beautiful. Now you're just going to keep the right hand onto the block and bring your left hand onto your left hip. Here's a beautiful movement for you in rotating. So we're going to look to that side, look to the left side, bring the left elbow back. And this pose, this variation might not be there for everybody, but you can try extending the left arm up towards the ceiling. And then let the right side of your chest follow around. Beautiful. Good. Let's swap it over and support yourself onto your heel of your hand and the right hand onto your hip. And be curious and interested. Maybe you discover that one side is quite different than the other. We're going to bring the shoulder back, the elbow back. And notice how much the left leg has bent. And see if you can lift up the inside of that left leg and straighten it. And then, if you can, for the last part, extending up your right arm. And bringing the left chest around. Good. And then bring your hands down onto the block. You're supported, so shuffle your feet in. Easy movement, heel, toe, heel, toe. And bend your knees right over your toes. Inhale and come up with your arms by your side. Good. We're going to need that block, so keep it handy. We'll just put it to the side momentarily. And we're going to come back to Warrior One pose. I don't know if I said that I was completely finished with it, but I just remembered we can do a nice rotation in it. So, right foot forward, left foot back, facing the short end of your mat. Good. Bend the right leg. Now you're all over this now because you know to draw that right knee back to the hip. Good. And then bring your arms out at chest height. And we're going to turn towards the bent leg and all the way around to 90 degrees if you can. So rotating through the upper part of the chest and the waist, turning right. And then back to center. Arms are parallel and turning right and back to center. Turning right, back to center. Rest your hands onto your hips. You're going well. Lift up your back heel and balance on the ball and the toes of the left foot. Good. Now you're going to test your balance a little bit more. Front leg is still bent. Draw the leg back into the hip. Arms up. Good. Turn right. Back to center. Turn right. Good. Rotate. Good. All on the right side. Beautiful. All right. Second side. Step left foot to right. Good. Set yourself up. Good. Now you've got all your points of contact initially. So your both feet are on the floor. We're going to get to raising the back heel in a moment, but bend the front leg. Bend the front leg, draw the hip, thigh back into the hip, and arms out away from you in front of the chest. Good. Turn left and center. Good to use a pulsing movement with the breath. Exhale, inhale. Exhale. Inhale, hands to your hips, lift that back heel, rotate your thigh and your foot in, back to bent leg position, and now rotating to the left. Whoops. It's a real test for your balance. Good, but you're doing beautifully. Good. And then last time you come to center, drop your arms. And then it seems like this would be a really good place to put a dog pose. So you can keep the front leg bent, Bring your hands down alongside your left foot. Step the left foot back, downward facing dog pose. And continuing on the ball and backs of the toes, lift your heels high so you can lift and stretch your buttock bones high. Backs of your thighs. All the way, lifting those sitting bones right up towards the ceiling. And then fold neatly down to the floor. Bend your knees. Come down into child's pose. And I have my block near enough so that I'm going to rest my forehead onto the block in child's pose. And bend your elbows and let your elbows be close to your knees. You did a good workout. Some of it took some effort of concentration too. So now just picture yourself just like air going out of a balloon, letting go of all effort. Letting go just as important as working hard. Stay there a little while longer if you haven't been paying attention to your breath. Let it be regular and gentle. Beautiful. Let's set up for a seated twist. And as you roll up again, let's see. I've got a yoga blanket here that I folded in 3. And you could also use a bolster. And we're going to use it in this manner. I'll demonstrate. So here's my support, and it's right up against the outside of my right hip. So from the kneeling position, kneeling on and sitting on your heels. Now support yourself with your hands and shift your right hip to be supported onto that blanket or bolster. You can even use a block if you have one handy there. So now you're off to the side. Your right hip is supported. The name of the pose is Bharata Vajasana. And it's a beautiful twist that works into the outer hips. So my feet are to the left of my left hip. My right hip is supported onto the blanket. And that means that I'm not going to tilt or fall off my support. My right foot's resting in the arch of the left foot. That's a lot of lefts and rights, isn't it? And from here, do a slight rotation, and you're turning towards your support, your blanket, towards the right knee, and bring your left hand onto the outside of your right knee, and your right hand behind you, behind your right buttock. Good. So in twists, sometimes we end up in a compact and compressed position. So we want to get all the length through the spinal column again. And lift up your breastplate. And then allow the head to turn in line with the chest. So the more that you turn your chest to the right, the more you can turn your neck and your head. All right, let's go second side and take all your props over your blanket, bolster, whatever, to the left side, and sit your left buttock onto the support. And look at your feet, they're on the outside of your right hip. Left foot resting in the arch of the right foot. Good. Let's take it into the twist and bring your left hand behind you and right hand, left knee. It's easy to use or sometimes overuse your hands and your arms and your shoulders. So allow the chest to turn gently at first. And if you want to go further, take the back hand back a little further to line up with the opposite buttock, and then pull gently on your right hand, on your right knee. Good. And then back to center. Extend out the legs, Dandasana. So at the moment, no props needed. Extend the legs straight out in front of you. And then bring your hands back behind your buttocks. It's quite a nice feeling at this point, and we're moving into the quiet and more meditative part of the class. Just to take your hands back at a distance, palms flat, and lean back into your hands. Leaning back into your hands, oh, it's so easy, the back is supported. But now you can work your legs, and have a look at your legs and extend out through your heels. Feel that delicious stretch all the way from your buttock bones to your heels. Then slide your hands in closer, and let's bring ourselves up into the L shape of the pose. Chest up, shoulders back, shoulder blades in. Less support from your hands and more support from your upper back muscles. Nicely done. Okay. Release. Take a lying down position with your block and your belt next to you. You're going to lie down face up. Like you did for bridge, with your feet on the floor near to your buttocks. And then plant your feet down, lift your hips up, and slide the block. I have it on the low end, the lowest end, and it's now underneath my sacrum at the base of the spine. Then let all of the weight through the lower back and the sacrum be supported onto the block. And I encourage you to play around. I have Daniel here in the studio with me, and if you move the block around, there's kind of a sweet spot where it feels like it gives you maximum support and is a little bit more comfortable for you. Then bend one knee up, second knee up, hold at the front of your knees, and then think about the shape that your body makes at the moment. If you were to stand by the side of your body and keep bringing your thighs towards you, and then slide your hands down your legs, your lower legs. I can bring my hands all the way to my ankles or even my heels, and the thigh bones towards the ribs, the tailbones lifting up a little bit. And the side-on position would show, oh, this looks a little bit like child's pose upside down. All right, and then we're going to release the knees back a little bit, the thighs back away from the chest again. Knees are over the hip bones. And then take up your belt and slip it around the ball of your foot. So now we've got both feet in the belt, working towards extending the legs. And then this is a really nice movement, kind of in this holistic way that we're working all parts of the body. You could point your toes away from you, point your toes down. Go back and forth. Lovely movement for that potential of flexion in both directions. If you're a walker, you like bushwalking, etc., it gives you a chance to look after your ankles like this. Good. And then bring all movement to a halt and hold the belt near to your feet. Keep your shoulders on the floor and adjust your feet so that they're not in either flexion. They're more or less parallel with the ceiling. And then your last chance to extend your legs straight by drawing your thigh muscles from knee to hip fold. Good. Keep a really delicate hold of the belt. It doesn't take too much. And feel the way that you're supported from the sacrum, the shoulder blades, the back of your head. And it's time now to move into the yoga relaxation. So let's just miss the belt. Feet back on the floor. Take out the block. And I'll leave it to you to set yourself up so that you're maximally comfortable and warm. Actually, you can't be comfortable unless you are warm. So I'm just going to grab my blanket for support at the back of my neck and my head. I think it could be a really great thing just to keep your legs bent and your feet on the floor a little while longer. So instead of straightening the legs right away, let the groins relax. So from the inside of the knee down into the pelvis, let the groins soften. And then from this position, extend your right leg, extend your left leg. You might have them supported with a bolster underneath the backs of your knees. Whatever it takes for you to be at your most comfortable position. Move your arms slightly away from the side of your body. Close your eyes, your eyelids like soft shades being drawn down to avoid the light and simply to relax the eyes more. Take a moment and move your arm down a little bit more, your hand and your arm down away from your shoulder, right arm, left arm. And then once you've done that, there's nothing more to do, and just let your hands soften and your arms drop out. Bring your attention to lightly rest onto your facial features and relax your forehead from your hairline to your brow line. And then soften that space between the brows so there's not a hint of any furrowing there. And then beneath your eyes, your eyelashes, soften down the cheekbones to the jaw. Let the jaw itself, the lower jaw, slacken back. Swallow lightly. And let go of any unspoken thoughts, unspoken words. Though our time is relatively short here, see if you can get the feeling of emptying out. If there's a little flicker of the eyes still with some movements, just send a message to yourself to allow the eyes to soften and any further movement to cease. Now we're going to bring attention to the whole of the body without even moving a muscle yet. The whole of the body. Crown of your head, tips of your fingers, all of your toes. Creating for yourself in that spirit of self-care a healthy body. A peaceful and quiet mind. And taking our exit from the pose in stages. First, bend your legs again. And keep them bent as you extend your right arm away from you. Bring your left arm across towards your right arm. Roll onto your side. Take time there. And press your left palm down into the mat and roll yourself up all the way to a seated position. Joining hands in front of your chest and taking a moment to sense and feel the beauty of that gesture that draws you to yourself, draws you inward. And then we do the practice, the yoga practice, to create a sense of health and well-being on all levels, but with the intention to share it with everyone. So thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.